by the way, this video is a segment from my bigger video, the 47 best things to do in Ghana. Make sure you check that one out too. I'll put a link at the end. And now for the big one, Accra. It's almost impossible to come to Ghana and not spend some time in Accra. And that's why I wrote a city guide, an opinionated city guide of Accra. And of course, I will put a link in the description. For this best of video, I am going to start with the Accra city tour. I'm thinking about making an in-depth video on this. Let me know if you'd like to see that. For a really complete city tour, you'll want to put all these places on your list. I've been to every one of them and done all the tours, and they're all good. There's not a dud in sight. However, you can customize this list to your tastes and the time you have. An early start is good, but don't start so early that you hit the morning rush hour. Traffic in Accra is bad. It's worse than LA. The good thing is that these places are fairly close together, so once you're in the area, you never have far to go. There are two pretty much must-visit places on this list. The first is Independence Square. Independence Square consists of Black Star Gate and Independence Arch. Together, these represent Ghana's struggle for freedom and independence. This place is iconic, and you definitely want to get a few selfies here. You can even climb to the top of Black Star Gate for a great view and an up-close and personal with the Black Star itself. And if you're wondering, it's only 60 steps to the top, and it's a good staircase, so not too difficult at all. If you decide to go up, there is a small maintenance fee that you'll have to give to the guys at the bottom, but it's well worth it. Oh, and when you're taking your pics over at Independence Arch, beware of the hawkers. They will try to sell you everything. They're friendly, but relentless. The other stop I highly recommend is Makola Market. That's where I got this fabric. If you've never been to a local African market, it's an experience not to miss. And Makola is the biggest market in Accra. And no matter how much video I show you, this is a place where the sights and smells and the feel of the place can really only be experienced when you're there. And it is so much fun to wander. I'll give you a little tip, is that usually if you get dropped off by a Bolt or a taxi, they'll drop you off on this main drag where the cars go through. As you're wandering around, try and keep track of where that main street is in relation to where you're wandering, just so you can get back to it easily, because that's how you're going to get a taxi to get out. And if you do lose track of it, just ask. The vendors are really awesome and they'll be happy to help you. Oh, and if you're staying in the Adenta or Medina area, the Medina market over there is also a really awesome local market. It's a little smaller, it's more manageable, and honestly, it's actually my favorite. I think I like the more manageable size. If I want to just go in and find something and get out, it's really easy to do. So if you're on that side of Accra, don't hesitate to check out Medina Market. It's another great local experience. If you're going to cut your city tour short, your next choices will depend on your interests. If you're interested in civil rights and African American history, you're going to want to go to the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum. I always thought it was Dubois, but they say it Du Bois. He was a major civil rights leader and spent some of his last years in Ghana, and that's why there's a history here. It's a really good tour. And that's the reason for this shirt, because see the web? See the spider web there? That's for him, W.E.B. Webb. So that's where I got this fabric. And if you're more interested in Ghana's political history, you're going to want to go to the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Center. Kwame Nkrumah led Ghana's independence movement and became the prime minister and first president of Ghana. Under his guidance, Ghana was the first African country to break free from colonial rule. If you're interested in a mix of Ghanaian history and art and culture, then you're going to want to go to the National Museum. When I visited in 2003, the National Museum was in the same spot, but I'll be honest, the displays were all dusty and old, and it really wasn't very impressive. But now, It has had a wonderful makeover, and it is modernized all the way down to having QR codes if you want more information. This is definitely a nice museum to visit. And if you like arts and crafts or you just need some souvenirs, go to the National Cultural Center. However, if you're coming up to Tamale, make sure you leave a little room in your suitcase because the Cultural Center up here has different stuff and is a little lower pressure. Honestly, whether it's up north or down south, I love all the arts and crafts in Ghana. So that's the city tour. But there is so much more to do in Accra. Let's go to the beach next. There are 3 major beaches in Accra that everyone talks about, and I'm going to give you the quick lowdown on all 3. The first is Labadi Beach, and it is the party beach. However, when I went, it was middle of the afternoon, and the party hadn't started yet. Thing is, I had a nice lunch, I had a bunch of people try and sell me things, and I could have taken a horse ride if I wanted. It's a nice beach. I can imagine when the party gets started, it's a whole lot of fun. The party goes long into the night. Ghanaians party long into the night. So I think the party starts sometime after dinner and goes till no one's awake anymore. So that's your party beach. The next beach everyone is talking about is Bojo Beach. And honestly, I'm not quite sure I get the appeal. Sure, there aren't any hawkers, and it's quiet. I'll say it's quiet, but it's kind of hard to get to. The food is mediocre, and it's kind of boring. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. And I only put it on this best of because a lot of people are talking about it, and I just got to be really honest with this one, is if you like peace and quiet, it may be the way to go. But if peace and quiet aren't quite your thing, you might want to check out Kokrobite. Now, I asked to go to Kokrobite Beach, and the taxi driver took me to Big Millie's backyard. So I never actually made it to see the waves and that. I could hear them, but I couldn't quite see them. But Big Millie's backyard has been a backpacker traveler stop forever. And it was fun. There was entertainment, awesome entertainment the whole time. There was good food. Things were reasonably priced. It was an awesome afternoon, and I highly recommend Big Millie's backyard. And to be honest, I have actually been told that the beach at Kokrobite is really good too. So I'm all in for Kokrobite. Now we're going to make a quick stop at the mall. I actually went to 3 malls in Accra, but for this best of list, there's only one really worth mentioning, and that's Accra Mall. It is a big, shiny, modern mall. It has a food court with a bunch of choices for food, all different types of food. There's a nice little room for ATMs that are very foreign card friendly. There's a theater up top. There are some stores will be familiar maybe, depending on where you're from, of course, but there's a Skechers and there's an Apple store and there's a Samsung store. And so you have all the modern stuff, but then you also have a pharmacy, a grocery store, and a beauty salon, and everything else. The nice thing is that with all these things to do, it's not a huge mall. You are not going to get exhausted walking all over the place, all around it. It is compact, but extensive, if that makes sense. And it's not crowded. It's just a very comfortable mall to walk through. And I'll tell you something, my teenage years were spent, in the mall. So I know my malls. We had 3 big ones in my hometown. I know my malls. And Accra Mall is awesome. And while we're talking about Western-friendly places, let's talk about Oxford Street in the Osu neighborhood of Accra. I actually have a full video where I pretended to be a newbie tourist, and you get to see the reactions of the vendors. So you're going to want to watch that one. Oxford Street is a fun place, day or night. There's a mix of roadside craft stores, and then there's a street market, and there are banks that are friendly to foreign ATM cards, and there's electronics stores, and there are Westerner-friendly restaurants and hotels, and there's even a Western-style grocery store. So it's a favorite hangout for tourists and expats. And as I say, I pretended to be a tourist, and you'll love the reactions I got. I did get this fabric, if you notice the new wardrobe change, on Oxford Street. I actually bought 2 fabrics while I was there because the guys I met were fantastic. But I've worn the other shirt in some other videos, so I decided to show this one off today. I will say, when you're dealing with the street vendors, bargain hard, because they are quick to assume that you're a rich newbie tourist, and the prices go up accordingly. So be smart. In addition to all the restaurants and such in the area, there's also a lot of bars and nightclubs, and this area is known as a bit of a party area. Now, I'm not a nightlife person. I never have been. So I don't have a direct report on the nightlife, but I have had a hotel in the area, and I can hear it going all night long. So that's something to consider if you're planning on staying in the area. You might want to ask the hotel how soundproofed their things are. And there are other party neighborhoods in Accra. So if you're interested in the nightlife party scene, ask at your hotel and tell them what kind of thing you're looking for, and they'll be able to put you in the right direction. But I've seen some of them during the day, and Oxford Street definitely has some cool places to party. Next on the list is the kind of tour that I really appreciate. I'm usually happy and content to walk around places on my own and discover them, and I don't mind being the outcast that everyone stares at, and that's fine with me. But the Jamestown walking tour takes you to Jamestown in a way that I guarantee I wouldn't have been able to wander around on my own and find the places that I get to see. Plus, the guide gives you a lot of history and perspective, which is really valuable, and it's a nice way to see this part of the city. Now, the tour takes place on Saturdays at 2 p.m., but you can arrange for a private tour, and you just have to contact them. And of course, I'll put the link in the description. You just have to contact them and work out a time that works best for you. Oh, now the next place on the list is a relatively new place to go in Accra. It just opened in 2021, and it hasn't gotten a ton of attention yet, and that's the National Mosque. The really nice thing is that, I mean, the mosque is a gorgeous building. You can see it from far away when you're driving up to it, and you can tell from there that it's gorgeous, and you get up close and it's even more gorgeous. But the nice thing is that they let non-Muslims inside, which most mosques don't do. And so you actually get to go inside and see everything, and it's really just beautiful and fantastic, and definitely worth your time. You should know that you will need to remove your shoes, and women may be asked to cover their hair. So plan accordingly. But this is definitely one of those architectural things that is really worth seeing. The next two places are day trips out of Accra, and these are also very much worth your time. The first is Abury Botanical Gardens. The grounds are beautiful, the plants and trees are interesting, and the tour is really great. It's very interactive. You get to smell things and taste things, and they have this fungus tree that is the absolute best. And no, that is not nearly as gross as it sounds. And if you're interested in taking a trotro while you're in Accra, now you can always take within the city trotro and hop on anytime you want, but the ride up to Abury is actually really kind of nice. And if you don't know what a trotro is, it's a minivan where they pack a bunch of people in. They have a reputation. But the one up to Abury, you go up this nice curvy mountain, and one of the nicest things is you're not going to get stuck in traffic. And when you come out, you just hail one that's going down the mountain and make your way back. Depending on where you are staying, just ask at your hotel how you would catch a trotro to get to Abury Botanical Gardens. Or you can arrange for a driver, of course. I do go into a lot more detail about how to do this in Accra, the Opinionated City Guide. So check it out. This other day trip is to a town called Ada. Don't call it Ada. I made that mistake and they were like, "What are you talking about?" And someone figured out it was Ada. Okay, and that is to the Chin Chin Museum. Yes, those letters are pronounced Chin Chin. This museum was created by the legendary Ghanaian artist Kwame Akoto Bamfo. And it's not just a museum. It is this journey into the heart and soul of African history and heritage. And it's also an artist colony where there's a lot of ongoing projects in all stages of creation. There are a few things you should know. One is that the full tour is 90 minutes long and it has a significant amount of walking in it. Worth it, but there's a fair amount of walking. Two, the museum is really far off the main road. There's a sign at the main road, and then you drive and you drive and you drive, and you get to a village, and you turn left, and you keep driving and driving and driving. And when you get there, you can't miss it. But until then, you start wondering, am I going the right way? But yeah, so it's really far off the main road, but it's really also not that hard to get to. And third, you'll want to arrange a driver that will wait for you and take you back to Accra, because Bolt doesn't work in Ada, and so no driver is going to want to go out and not have a full fare return trip. So plan the whole thing in one shot. If you're interested in going to some of the beach resorts and such in Ada, I talk about that in my city guide as well. By the way, several of the last things I've mentioned appear in my video, Hidden Gems of Accra, and I go into a little more detail about them. So I will leave a link for you to check that out as well. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Hey there. If you're visiting Ghana, you might be interested in the Thatch app. And I bring it up because I have made some guides on there. And one of the guides is a free Accra city tour, and the other is a 10-day itinerary. Not so free, but very worthwhile because it covers Accra and Cape Coast. The coolest part is that all the information I put in this guide is not generic stuff. I'm writing it all myself. And it's like I'm giving advice to a friend on what to see in a location that I know really well. So if you're visiting Ghana, check it out. I'll put a link in the description. And by the way, there's plenty more guides to come. I am just getting started. Oh, no. No.
Yes, man.
See, you lied to me. Welcome, everyone. Okay, today we have an experiment. While I was in Accra, I went to Oxford Street in the Osu neighborhood, which is known for catering to expats and tourists. And I played the tourist. I played the absolute newbie tourist. So I did this so I could share the experience with you. Okay, I'm going to share the experience with you, and then I'm also going to pop in and give you context, because I'm not a newbie tourist, and I can tell you kind of what was going on behind the scenes. And then I also need your opinion, because I'm going to admit, by the end of it, I was getting a little frustrated, shall we say. And I'm not sure if I was getting frustrated because of the way they were acting, or if I was getting frustrated because I was just kind of hot and tired. Okay, but you also get to meet the guys who sold me the fabric for this shirt, and they were absolutely awesome. I'm gonna spill the beans on everything that happened on Oxford Street that day. So let's get to it. Oxford Street, here we come. Thank you. Likewise. Just taking a quick look.
I'm looking this for free. Welcome. What's your name?
My name's Trina. How about you?
I'm good. My name is Kwaku.
Kwaku?
Yeah, I'm Wednesday born.
Aha.
Yeah.
Okay.
What day were you born?
Monday. Ajwa.
Ajwa. Yeah, welcome to Ghana.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is our little shop.
That's nice. That's nice.
Shirts I have from here.
Yeah, nothing that'll fit me though.
Yeah, I have big ones.
Oh, not this big.
I have big ones. These are all big ones.
Yeah. It is good size.
Yeah, you can try it.
But still, that's not gonna.
You can try it. No harm in trying. This like this one. I'll make one for you with your name on it. It's a weaving. I use my hand to do it.
Right. Not today. Not today.
I want to make your Ghana name for you.
No, that's okay. Just not today. I'll be back around.
So you can check the bead for you. You can try it.
Yeah. How much?
35.
35.
How much you give me?
10.
You try. You give me
20. Kwaku, my friend. Okay, this was a perfect place to start because it was my first stop, and he did exactly what I would expect a vendor on Oxford Street to do. He did everything he could to find something that would work for me in the larger shirts and such. And then, of course, he had to try to sell me something else on the way out, and then something else beyond that. Now, he was never pushy. He was always friendly. No problem there. But then he did the thing that told me that I was looking like an absolute newbie tourist, and that was he way overquoted the price of the bracelet. Now, I had the good fortune of knowing about what the bracelet should cost, so it put me in a good position for haggling. And that's one of the best places you can be. So when he super overquoted, I super underquoted. And I think he figured it out that when I super underquoted, he knew that I knew what the price should be. So, because if you notice, he didn't mess around with any in-between numbers. He just went straight to 20 cedis, and that was the right price for that bracelet. Not everyone will quote that high, but he was taking a shot, and it just didn't work with me. Good afternoon. I'm just looking right now, just to browse. I can't buy anything that big. I don't have that much room in my luggage.
Small.
Well, I'm probably, as I say, I'm just looking today.
Not as small.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, the fun.
Ah. It does work well. But I know me, I'll never remember to carry it. Not today.
Maybe it's a small price.
How much?
40.
40. No, not too much.
How much did you use?
20.
Maybe 30.
No.
Maybe 30.
No, I don't really need it that much anyways. As I say, I'm mostly just looking today. So
what was the best price you did? So this is the best price.
20.
Maybe 25.
No, 20.
25.
No. For 20.
So me and you are the friends, so maybe 25 and you need to 25.
And okay, what about that one? This one. That yellow might match my shirt better.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you 25 for this one. Okay, in the second shop, I made the mistake. I thought the going rate for the fans was 20 cedis, and that's why I stood so hard on it. That's why I was like, no, 20, 20, 20. And I don't usually like to be a jerk when I bargain, but I thought it was 20. The truth is, the regular price for the fans is actually 30 cedis. So 25 was a very fair price. And so even an experienced traveler, I make mistakes too.
Hello, mommy. Can I check? I have dresses.
I don't wear dresses.
You don't wear dresses?
No.
What a bracelet?
I just got one.
You have different colors. Let me check it.
Yeah, not today.
Really?
I know, but then I'm
Really?
okay. I'll take a look. And I like your designs, but they're sort of big for me. They're a little bit big for me.
Their design.
Yeah, but
Your hands are thick.
I know, but
You have thick hands.
yeah, I
So
understand.
it will fit your hand.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, let me give you one so that you see. You choose the one that I show you. You see the colors are nice.
Do you have one of these a little
Yes,
larger?
I have.
To see if this one has a little more give in it. That feels a little better.
Yeah.
So how much?
25.
Okay, how about 20?
Maybe it's not.
Thank you. You talked me into it. I wasn't going to buy anything.
Yeah. And the color fits your hand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
It's very nice.
It does. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
The woman in this shop did a great job. She coaxed me in kindly and gently, even though I protested. And I ended up going and looking, and she found me something nice. And when she said 25 on the bracelet, she was leaving herself room to bargain. And, you know, when I said 20, she agreed really quickly. This was another perfect transaction, and she was great. So nice experience here. My plan was to not purchase anything. I purchased something everywhere. I've got a bracelet on each arm. Oh no, I've got the best sandals in the world. Yeah, but no, I've got the best sandals in the world. So no, you can't beat these. I got to be honest, you can't beat the sandals I got. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
No, I don't have a husband right now.
No boy.
Huh? No husband. No one else to buy for right now.
Boyfriend.
Not at the moment.
Boyfriend.
No.
No boyfriend.
I just thought this guy's reaction was really funny when he realized I didn't have a husband or a boyfriend. A very Ghanaian reaction. Obviously, prayer time. Let's see, some juice. Pineapple with ginger, baobab, and coconut tiger nut. Okay, there's one I haven't tried there. I'm going to go over and give it a try. Good afternoon. Who has the juices? So, how much? 12 CDs? Okay. I'd like to try the, let me get a coconut tiger nut. There's no, oh wait, let me ask, is there milk? Okay, then good. Perfect. Thank you very much. Let me try this. Coconut, tiger nut. Okay. Let me cool off just a sec. Okay, that's really good. I hadn't had that before. Mm-hmm.
And then big.
The dates make it sweet. Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that.
With ginger inside.
Now I'm going to warn you, I'm probably not going to buy anything.
No problem.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
Los Angeles.
Welcome to Ghana.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Accra and Los Angeles have a lot in common, especially the traffic. Ah.
It's good to know on the Ghana.
That I usually just get fabric.
Something like this. Have a big one.
I will roast in something like that.
Have a big one for you.
I have never needed a jacket in Ghana. Never.
And then there is winter, you can use it.
No, there's no winter in Ghana. Your coldest days. Oh, I'm not going back. I have a friend that does that up north too. That one's cool though. I like that color. So.
I appreciate people who put that out there. Not a lot of people that know that we live like this.
Yeah.
Some things we still live in the forest and stuff.
Yes, and I'm trying to get rid of that idea. And I'm showing it all. I'm showing the more traditional living and the more modern living. In fact, I just did a live on that channel. I just did a live from down there. It won't show up right now because I gotta process it.
Look as if your
Yeah, it is. You guys are the first ones to ever notice that.
Kind of seen one before.
Okay, you guys are the first ones to notice that. I hope I can use. You don't mind if I use you in a video? All right, thank you. Okay, so let's look at some fabrics here. I'm liking this. But what else do you have? Ooh, you guys have some nice fabrics. I mean, seriously.
This is made by our younger brother.
Let's pull that one out too. I mean, you have some really unique and nice fabrics. Yeah.
Our younger brother makes this one.
Okay. He's very creative.
We saw this one to support him.
You know what? Let me decide between these three. Okay, so this one's out. Okay. So what kind of fair price are you going to give me on this?
What they say on it.
Okay. Now, when you say your younger brother, is he really your brother, or is he an African brother?
He's your color.
Okay.
That company.
Okay. I like them both. Can you go to 40 a yard if I buy both?
So, you know how many yards?
3 yards of each.
You make it 45.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Be safe.
You take care. Have a good day.
Thank you.
These guys were the first ever to discover my spy camera. I also had a blast dealing with them that afternoon. We spent probably half an hour looking at fabrics and just chatting away. By the way, on my recent tour of southern Ghana, I spent a bunch of time in Accra, and I have written a guide. See? It's Accra, the Opinionated City Guide. This is not your typical guide. I give you very, very honest and snarky and sassy reviews of everywhere I went. And if you're going to Accra, you're gonna want this because it gives you the real deal. Not everything made nice, nothing hidden. This is exactly what you need if you really want to learn about and explore Accra. And the truth is, I know this looks like a book, but I'm faking you out, but that's only because it's only in ebook form. And if you can get it in PDF, all the better, because I did an illustrated version in PDF and it has a bunch of gorgeous pictures in it. I will leave a link in the description and you can check it out for yourself, but it's really good. I've already got a whole lot today though. Okay, I will take a look, but I've already bought more than I intended today, so no promises.
No, yeah. No charge.
No charge for looking. I've heard that a few times today.
You have some nice dollar t-shirt. Show the t-shirt.
Okay.
That's all the symbols with.
Well, that is a nice shirt.
There's the fan.
I've got one of those in here. I've got a fan and 2 bracelets already.
There's the shot glass and the
Yeah.
bag. Small prices. Maybe you have the business for today.
You know what? I'm gonna pass right now. I'm not certain about shipping it, so I'm just
Still take it for 30.
no.
First,
I know, but
like the shop.
no, I'm not feeling it right now. Sorry.
What about dollar?
No, I've got one. Thank you.
T-shirt.
I got that too. So.
So what about the artwork? May I do painting? I draw
No, I already have.
some.
I already have
What
some.
about
Yeah.
the placemats and some oven made we use fabric to do?
No,
Show you.
actually, no. I'm good. I'm good.
The placemat, I want to show you.
I had a friend already give me some placemats from up north. So. Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome.
No, I think. Yeah. I know. No, I don't wear dresses, so I'm good for now. Guys. Yeah, I am okay for now. Okay, so here's where things started to get a little frustrating for me. I go into this shop. I tell him I've already bought too much stuff for the day, which of course may just be a signal of, oh, hey, she's a sucker, she'll buy more. But he shows me the t-shirts. And then he shows me a shot glass, and then he shows me this and that and that. And he started getting way too pushy on the little knick-knacky, buy something from me, and the please, you need to support my store because you're my first customer today, feel sorry for me, buy something from me, please. That was just getting to be too much. Okay, and then I turn around to leave, and there's this artist guy blocking the aisle. And I know he wasn't super blocking the aisle. He wasn't keeping me from leaving because as soon as I stepped forward, he stepped back. But he was psychologically trying to block the aisle and get me to look at his stuff. So when I left this shop, my patience was really low. And so first of all, I'm going to ask your opinion, because between this and the next people I interacted with, am I right that they were functioning at a frustrating level and going too far? Or was I just hot and tired and out of patience? Because it hadn't been that long ago that I left my friends at the fabric place that I had a great time with. I walked out of there feeling awesome. So it was this shop that turned it for me. What do you think? Were they too pushy, or was I just tired? But let's take a look at the next interaction. I'm good, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Patrick. What's your name?
Trina.
Trina.
Yeah.
What's your Ghana name?
Ajwa.
Ajwa.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Mr. Nkwago. I'm
Okay, Monday.
So, where are you from?
Los Angeles.
In Ghana, this is what I do. I want to show you my work, my
I
talent.
appreciate it, but I'm going to tell you I can't buy it because I have nowhere to put it.
Yeah, I know. You see, it's not about the money, it's not about the buying, but it's about the encouragement. So I would like to, show you my work. Maybe I can give you one of my work and take where my work never been, somewhere where it's from. Okay, so you can hear favorite one. Your favorite one? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. It would depend.
You can choose the one. You can choose the one. This one is the one.
Yeah, but I'm not. I told you I wasn't buying.
Yeah,
I told you I wasn't buying.
You know something? Today's promotion, you know? Yeah,
No.
today's promotion. So
Okay, I told you I wasn't buying.
I can give
You
you
just
from-
wanted to show them to me.
yeah,
And I told you I wasn't buying.
I like your shades. Where you from?
Los Angeles.
Mr. Address, welcome to Ghana.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I give you one for remember. Which one's the best so far for you? By this one, no support. Maybe like can make like 150 cedi support.
Oh,
the
no,
ball,
no, no,
or
no.
Like 100 cedi support the ball.
No.
Yes, man.
This one you take.
See, you lied to me. You said free.
No, but you see, you didn't lie to me, but you have to support.
Okay, so I never interact with the painter guys with the rolls of paintings under their arms, and they're saying that they're the artists and all that, because I know it's a scam. And it's not a total scam, let me explain. It's a partial scam. But I know they're feeding me a line, and the only reason I interacted with this guy was for the sake of this video, okay? So he'll start out saying, oh, I just want to get your opinion. I just want some feedback. I'll give you a painting. And he said free or give you a painting at least 6 or 7 times during this entire transaction. Keep that in mind. So once you agree to look, they spread them out. And of course, they want you to pick your favorite. Now, I was an art major in school. So I take a look at these paintings, and I know right off the bat the same person did not paint all of these. There are at least 3 different styles represented here. So they get you to look. And then I kept avoiding saying which was my favorite because I knew that was the hook. It was, which one is your favorite? Which one do you like best? And I kept not answering. Okay? And then I finally answered, and then they act like they're going to give it to me, et cetera, et cetera. And I gave them a little tip of money, as a thank you. And of course, then all of a sudden, oh, wait. You need to support the artist. You need to support him. It costs money for supplies. It costs this. It costs that. You need to support the boy. And so I called him out on the lie because they had said multiple times, oh, this is going to be free. It's a gift. It's a special thing, and then suddenly they're asking for money. And then they were also asking for way too much money. So here's what you can take away from this transaction. First of all, if you want to buy this kind of painting and you want to buy it from a guy on the street, that's completely fine. Just know that he probably isn't the real artist. If you don't see him painting it, and you're not seeing signatures on the paintings, and you're not buying in a real shop, the guy's probably not the real artist. The second thing is, whatever price they give you, whatever it is, don't pay more than half of that. And I'm saying that because these are kind of mass-produced tourist art kind of things, but they're also kind of cool to hang on your wall at home. As I say, there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting one. Just don't let them bamboozle you with a story and a slick sales technique. That's all I'm saying. So at that point, between the pushy people in the store and the painter guys, I was done. They had gotten just too pushy for my taste. And I'll admit, I was a little hot and tired by then. So I walked a little further and saw this great giant pile of coconuts. That's a lot of coconuts. And then the security guard from the bank I had gone to the day before greeted me, and that was really nice.
How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Today?
No, not today.
Oh.
But all in all, I love Oxford Street. I like the energy. I like the little bit of everything. Just be prepared when you go. Be prepared to haggle. Be prepared that when you start to get tired to have your shields up. No, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. You don't have to say yes to everybody. But go to Oxford Street, have a great time, enjoy your shopping, and when in doubt, you can always just pick a restaurant and sit down and have a nice cool drink. By the way, I love this fan. And I'll just say thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Welcome everyone. I am so glad you are here today because I get to share with you these hidden gems, places in Accra that you may or may not have heard about, but that are so totally worth your time, and they are so awesome and definitely worth a visit if you can fit them in when you visit Ghana. The first place on the list is Ghana's National Mosque. It is an absolutely gorgeous building. But what's even more special about it is that they allow non-Muslims inside the mosque. And that's rare. Most mosques do not do that. So it was really a major treat to be able to go inside of this mosque. One of the reasons I don't think it's on the main tourist track is that while construction started in 2012, it wasn't finished and opened until 2021. And so it really hasn't been available for very long. The mosque was a gift from Turkey, and it is done in sort of a neo-Ottoman style, but it is a replica of the famous Blue Mosque. And as you can see, inside and out, it is absolutely gorgeous. The first thing you need to know is that you will be asked to remove your shoes before entering the interior prayer areas of the mosque. So whatever footwear you choose, make sure it's easy to slide on and off. Number two, there are no Western style toilets at the mosque, so take care of things beforehand if you're not comfortable using a squat toilet. Number three is to help out your drivers is that the entrance for the mosque, if they aren't familiar with it, is behind it. So while you see the big beautiful building from the main road, you have to get down and around and behind it to get to the main gate. And speaking of the main gate, number four is when you arrive, tell the security guy that you want to do a tour, and one of the security guys will give you a tour. And it's as simple as that. The tour doesn't technically cost anything, but you certainly want to tip your guide. And the last thing is for the women, expect to be asked to cover your hair. Now, if you have your own scarf, that's great. They may offer you one. I showed up like this, and they were completely fine with my hat covering my hair, but my hair is very short. But they didn't say anything about it. It was fine. But be prepared to cover your hair as just out of respect. I highly recommend visiting the National Mosque because honestly, being able to enter this big, beautiful mosque and see it all up close and the grandeur of it, it was really one of my highlights when I visited Accra. Next up is the Aburi Botanical Gardens. Now you might have heard of Aburi and the gardens, and they always promote it as it's a nice way to escape the heat, and it's a pretty day out of Accra, and it is. But I'm here to tell you that Aburi is more than just a nice little escape to beat the heat and the hustle and bustle of Accra. Aburi is really an awesome place to go. Aburi was actually the first place I ever rode a trotro, was getting up to Aburi. And I actually decided to do that again. So I did that in 2003, and honestly, going up the mountain, because you're going up this curvy mountain, and back then, they packed the trotros tighter then. I'd swear there were 16 people in the minivan. And you know, the driving was, I'll call it a little more eccentric, but I took a trotro, and it was fun. If you have a chance to take a trotro up to Aburi or anywhere in Accra, there's a million chances to take trotros in Accra, but that's another story. The funniest thing was, and I don't remember this from 20 years ago, I remember it dropping us off right at the entrance, and I'm not sure things didn't get a little remodeled in the last 20 years, but it actually dropped me at a filling station that was at the base of a hill, and they're like, oh yeah, here, and then it's walking distance. Oh yeah, just go on up there, it's walking distance. I looked at it on Google, and it was, it was hot, and I still had a whole botanical garden to walk around. And so I said, 23-minute walk? Wow, that's significant. That's not just walking distance. I bailed out and I said, taxi! So I had a taxi to take me up the hill. And so this young gentleman named Martin ended up as my guide. He is still studying to be the full-on guide at the Botanical Gardens, but he knew everything he needed to know. He was absolutely great. One of the first things they show you is this really cool, I'd say it's a hollowed out tree, but it's not. It's actually like this parasite plant, because what it does is it grows up around the tree, but then it ends up choking it and killing it. And so the tree dies inside, and you're left with this hollow ficus parasite thing. And it stands as if it were the tree, but it's not. You get to climb inside of it, take a good look around, and it's just fun to be able to be interactive with the plant, and to think that there was a tree there at one point in time. It was just a fun experience. Then you walk around, and he had me taste something, and I'll admit that was icky, but it was something they used to cure malaria. And then we went to the spice garden, and he had me smell all these different spices and things from the different trees, and it was really fantastic. And I loved the interactive nature of this tour. And then there's this tree that this artist did, and every branch of it means something different. There's a story behind every branch. And Aburi Botanical Gardens is a great place to go. It doesn't have to be, oh, I need an escape from Accra. It is just great to go there. I highly recommend it. Those of you who have been watching me for a while know I like to explore places on my own. And I'll go into a neighborhood, a town, wherever, and I don't mind walking around on my own. I don't mind getting stared at. And, I just enjoy discovering that way. I enjoy discovering things very naturally. The next thing I did, though, you might think is out of character for me, but I went on a Jamestown walking tour. Now, you can certainly go to Jamestown, and you can go to the bars and the cafes and the art galleries and all that on your own, and that's no problem. And that's not what this tour is about. The Jamestown walking tour is all about showing you places that you are not going to find as a tourist, that you are not going to just stumble into. You might stumble into one of them, but you're not going to get this whole rich experience with the history and everything there is to see there. This is one of those places where having a local with you is very, very helpful. You'll not only visit the boxing center and a local bar to try local drink, you'll meet the people who live and work there. And it is just, as I say, it's an exceptional tour, because it's one of the few times I felt like, yeah, I couldn't have done this on my own. So I highly recommend taking the Jamestown walking tour. It is something that happens on Saturdays at 2 o'clock, and I will give you the website. You do want to call or text ahead and let them know you're coming. And if you cannot make Saturday at 2 o'clock, you can arrange a private tour with them. Just give them a call. Okay, so the next places I have to share with you are a combo, because they're close to each other. The first place in this Accra tourism power combo is the Lagan Botanical Garden. I know, not another botanical garden. Oh gosh, too many. She's just going crazy with these botanical gardens, right? That's what you're thinking, right? No, this one is entirely different. One, it is within the city. There's no trotro ride up a mountain or anything like that. And it is a whole different experience. It is not like manicured gardens and that sort of thing. Now, there is a lake in the center. I didn't get to see the lake because part of it was under maintenance and construction when I was there, but there's a lake, and I think you're going to be able to do fishing. But they have a rope canopy walkway going through the trees, and it's not like grand like the Kakum one, but it's fun. It's it's a nice fun little canopy walkway. But they also have a rope course, which is a challenge thing, sort of an obstacle course kind of thing. And there are various activities that you can do while you're at the park. So you can have a quiet afternoon in the park, or you can go adventuring in the park. It's a nice park, and if you're on that side of town and you need a little break, it is definitely worth your time. Or if you're looking for adventure, or if you have kids and you want to give them something to do, this would be a good place to take them. There is an entrance fee of 20 cedis, and that's a little less than $2 US. And then the various activities have prices on them, but if you do nothing else, you just pay the 20 cedis to get in. And then after you've had this nice peaceful time at the botanical gardens or the fun adventuresome time, then just 10 minutes away, a 10-minute ride away, is the Medina Market. Now, I'm going to be doing a big thing on Accra and all the big tourist sites, but I went to like 3 beaches and 3 malls and 3 local markets. And out of the 3 local markets I went to, Medina was my favorite. There are a few things I really like about Medina Market. One, it's about the size of a city block, and that makes it manageable. It's big, it's active, it's fun, but it's manageable. So it's not too intimidating if you're new to markets, but it still feels like this great adventure. The other thing I like is that while there's a bunch of produce and a bunch of local products that you may or may not be interested in, there are quite a few things that you might find helpful. One, if you've been buying a bunch of souvenirs, you might need an extra piece of luggage to take everything home with you. There's definitely a few places to buy extra backpacks or small suitcases or anything you need in that category. Plus, there are a number of fabric sellers, my favorite. There are a number of fabric sellers in the market, so you have plenty to look at. And the other thing I really like about Medina Market is, honestly, the people are just really friendly. And it's not that they're not friendly at the other markets, but in Medina Market, they have time to talk to you, and they will talk to you, and they'll ask you questions. And they're not always just trying to sell you something. They're happy to have a conversation. And so I got into some really interesting and fun conversations with people while I was wandering through Medina Market. And so, I think it's a great market experience, whether you're new at markets or whether you love markets. I think it's that great in-between, kind of satisfies everybody. But go in, have fun. It's my favorite market in Accra. If you can weave these hidden gems into your itinerary while you're in Accra, I think you are just going to add some nice layers and textures to your experience here and make it even better. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Welcome, everyone. Today we are going to talk about Cape Coast and Elmina. Now, Cape Coast is about 3 hours away from Accra. Okay, so it can be a day trip, although honestly, the idea of going like 3 hours and then going to visit the castles and then Kakum and then all the way back to Accra sounds like a crazy day. If you don't have time and that's all you have time for, go for it. But honestly, Cape Coast is worth a few days because besides the very important slave castles to visit in both Cape Coast and Elmina, there is actually a ton of stuff to do in Cape Coast. There's all sorts of fun stuff. So I'm going to start with the fun stuff and end with the heavy stuff because the heavy stuff is important and I want to give it its due. One of the biggest attractions around Cape Coast has to be Kakum National Park. And this place is great. It is all sorts of fun. And in fact, when I came in 2003, it was actually one of the deciding factors that made me pick Ghana as a destination. And what's really cool is you've got this rope canopy walkway. Okay, so first, let me talk to you about getting up to the walkway, and then I'll tell you how that goes because that's really cool. But you have to go up these stairs, and it's a small hike up a mountain, and they'll tell you it's like 15 minutes. I think even for an average person, it's probably closer to 25 or 30 minutes. But, for me, well, let's put it this way. I was lagging behind the tour group because they do take you up in groups. Okay. And so I just catch up to them and then they'd move on. And I'd catch up to them and they'd move on. I'm slow on anything climbing. I make it. I get there, but I'm slow. And it's one of the places in Ghana that it's nice for me to have a hiking stick. Now, I'll tell you, when you get up there, if you are nervous about heights, don't worry. Okay, I don't want to dismiss your fears, but don't worry. The rope bridge is very safe. The cables come, almost up to my armpits. I mean, they're up really high. I actually did a live from being on the bridge. I was broadcasting straight from the bridge, but the bridge, even though it wobbles a little, is very stable. But do know that if you get partway in and get scared, there is a shortcut out. Okay, at the beginning, you can do it so that you only have to go over 2, maybe 3 bridges, because there's just a shortcut out. Normally it's 7 bridges, and honestly, I love it. I think I've done Kakum 3 times, and it's just all sorts of fun. I'll be honest, though. The one thing is I was just a touch disappointed my first time doing it. You know why? because I grew up on Indiana Jones. And I had visions of, you know, a nice challenging rope bridge. And I thought it was so safe and stable. I was actually disappointed that it didn't have a little more wobble going on. Seriously. So yeah, know that it's safe and stable and you're going to have all sorts of fun. But they do also have a nature walk where they'll take you around the forest and show you trees and birds and lizards and bugs and anything they can find, and they'll tell you about them. If you want to do the nature walk, tell them that you're doing that so that they'll basically keep you at the top and take you to that meeting point so you don't have to climb the stairs. You don't come down and have to climb the stairs back up again. But yeah, Kakum is absolutely worth your time. There's a little souvenir shop and a nice little cafe. As for getting there, I highly recommend just hiring a driver. And I will put my driver's information because Junior, he knows everything about Cape Coast. If you're going anywhere in Cape Coast and at any point when you need a driver, he is the man to call. He knows everything. He knows everyone. Okay, and he's a really nice guy and he's really honest. So I'll put my driver's information in the description so you can give him a call if you're going. But I do recommend a driver out to Kakum because there's not really an easy Trotro drop-off point, which was, I think, about the only other way you could possibly get there. Next up, I'm going to talk about something that no one else talks about. And this was another thing I discovered in 2003. And I got to tell you a little story on this one because when I first went, okay, first of all, let me tell you what it is. It is finding Posabon. Now, let me tell you what a Posabon is. You'll sometimes hear Posabon Shrine, and they're actually slightly two different things. So let me give you a quick little bit of history. So in Ghana, the different tribes, or I should say the different villages, had Asafo companies, okay? And those were basically the militia for the village, and they would protect the village. Well, the Posabon was where they kept the weapons. It was their meeting place. It was where they kept the weapons. So if someone said, hey, someone's coming to attack us, then they'd send out the call and everyone would meet at the Posabon and they'd get armed and they'd go fight off the bad guys, whoever the bad guys were. And so that's what Posabon are. Some Posabon also have a shrine, and that would normally be if you see a Posabon and it has a tree with it. Usually it's a tree. And if there's a tree, and then that is a Posabon that is speaking to the deities. Okay, so that's what a Posabon is. When I first heard about them, it was back in 2003, and I had my Lonely Planet guidebook, and it suggests, it talked about them. And back then, I was fortunate enough when I got to Cape Coast, I met up with another traveler, and he had been backpacking, and he had done more of this than I had. And he knew how to negotiate the bush taxis to get out to these places. And then at that point in time, they were bush taxis. I mean, when we got out to the one all the way out in Mankesim, which is an important one, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But the one all the way out in Mankesim, I mean, we're talking, the taxis were going over basically dirt tracks, and I would barely call it a road. It was more like just a worn out area where the cars drove all the time. I mean, it wasn't even really a scoped out road. So they were truly bush taxis, and I was very fortunate to get that help that day. We had a great time. And when we got out to the one at Mankesim, well, the one at Mankesim is big, and it has all these statues on it. And I had seen some of the other ones. We had already been to some of the other ones, and I'll tell you about those in a sec. But if you notice, my perspective at the time, my first thought when I saw the Posabon was, kind of looks like miniature golf course figures. And it might just be a US thing, I'm not sure. But to me, it looked a little like miniature golf, figures, although much more important. But I have to admit, that was my first impression, okay? But no, I got out there, and so this is 2003. We've gone through the bush taxi. It's a dusty area, kind of a dusty road going through there. And this guy comes out to tell us the story of the Posabon at Mankesim. And you can see, I'm showing you some footage here of the modern day version of it. And modern meaning only it has a really nice coat of paint on it. Other than that, it hasn't really changed. It's the same Posabon. It's the same statues and figures. But the guy that came out in 2003, I mean, he was like a character out of a book. He had on a baseball cap of some sort, and then he had all of 3 or 4 teeth, one of them with a gold cap. He had a fairly heavy accent, so I have to admit I only understood about half of what he was saying. And then they actually he actually handed out a thing with the stories on it. But the thing is, it was like it was a photocopy of something that had been made on a ditto machine. You remember the old mimeograph machines, the ones with the blue ink where you'd get high off of it if you stood there long enough? When you got your little test in front of you. Okay, I'm speaking to a certain generation there. You know who you are. You could tell it was like a photocopy made from a mimeograph. So that was kind of funny. And that was my experience then. Now, now there's a big, shiny, perfectly paved road all the way out to Mankessim. There is no sense of bush taxi going through the woods and all that. It is very easy to get there. It's a little bit of a drive, but no further than Kakum, a different direction. But it is very much worth it because they still have the storyteller who comes out, and the gentleman who does it now is much easier to understand. You know, you get the story, and there's like moral stories behind all of these, okay? Behind all of these figures and that. And to me, it's just one of those things that people don't do as tourists. You don't get to these places very often. And I say these places because these Posaban are spaced out in a variety of places around the Cape Coast area. The next best place to see Posaban is in Anamabu, okay? And there's something else going on in Anamabu, but there's about 7 Posaban in Anamabu if you want to go try and find all of them. Some of them are easier to find, some are a little harder. Some, the people will bug you for a little bit of money. Be prepared, just give a little bit. However, it is still very much worth doing, and they have some of the ones that are in better condition and well kept. Another thing is, if you go with Junior, there is a Posaban in his neighborhood, and this one, oh, I got to tell you this story, because right before we went there, my camera stopped working. That's when he got the priestess, and he called her over and convinced her to do a ceremony to help fix my camera at this Posaban. The first thing we had to do was to go buy some peach schnapps, and that was as an offering, a libation to the gods, okay? And so we go and we get the peach schnapps, and then we go back to the Posaban, and she starts doing this ceremony, okay? And, you know, it's got the chanting and the talking, and I don't know if it was just finally my brain clicked in, or if you want to say it was divine inspiration, but I figured out what was wrong with my camera. I figured it out, and I was able to fix it. And that all happened during the ceremony. So take it for what you will, but that was my deific intervention at a Posaban. So the Posaban always have interesting things around them. Now, if you go see the ones in Elmina, I have to admit, the ones in Elmina are not well kept. I wouldn't make a special trip to Elmina just for that. There's other reasons to make a trip to Elmina. And one of them is the castle there and the tour that you get with the castle. But let's talk real quick about the other things to do in Elmina. And actually, mostly, it's just a street walking tour. The thing you want to walk around when you go to Elmina is they have a street market right near the castle. And it's a really fun, interesting street market. It's a very local street market. I did buy some fabric there, but that fabric I ended up giving away to someone. You're not there for souvenirs. You're there for the atmosphere. And Elmina's a fishing village. Okay, you should know that. Elmina is a fishing town. And so you're over the bridge, there's the harbor, and you can see all the boats. And, you know, it's a really interesting place visually. Some Posaban, and there's a Dutch cemetery, and there's some other things to see. And you can stop and get coconut. Oh man, I had the best coconut there. I'm not a big coconut fan. I don't really like the shredded coconut you buy in the bags and use in baking and all that. That's not my thing. But when you have coconut here and you drink it, you drink the juice, and then they open it up for you and they scoop out the center. And I just had the softest, best coconut there that day. But so Elmina's a cool town to walk around. And some people prefer to stay in Elmina because it's less hassle than Cape Coast. Cape Coast is very tourist oriented. Elmina is well worth an afternoon of walking. And actually, Cape Coast has a really good walking area too. Let me give you a little layout of Cape Coast. Cape Coast is not very big. Okay, I was on sort of the outer edge of town in the area around the STC bus station and the new KFC. The thing is, if you call a Bolt, which is the equivalent of an Uber, nothing in Cape Coast is more than 15 minutes away. Now, I'm not talking about things like Kakum and Mankesum for the Posabon. Those are like short drives. Those are, drives under an hour. But Cape Coast itself, Cape Coast Central, is very walkable. So you get a ride down into the center of things, and it's very easy to walk around a lot of Cape Coast. Oh, and by the way, this shirt, I got this fabric in Cape Coast while I was walking around doing the street tour thing. Forgot to say that in the main part of the video. But also, if you're enjoying this video, please drop a like, share it. I would love to share it. I really would love to grow and get this message out to more people. So like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I would really appreciate it. Thanks. And they have an area called Market Stalls, and you'll find it on Google Maps. And you can just walk around and do the market thing. And it's all sorts of fun. And then if you want to keep going, you can make your way around to the castle. Now, the one thing I will tell you is that the touts at the castle, the people trying to sell you stuff or to be your guide or many other things, they get a little pushy. So I'm going to recommend that you sort of keep your shields up a little bit. Be polite, but keep your shields up so that you just have a no thank you until you see something you're interested in. Just be aware of that. It's not a total turnoff. It's not a horrible situation. Also know that inside of Cape Coast Castle, just as you enter, before you get to any admission gate or anything, there's a set of shops, and they're a little bit more mellow. They're not as pushy, and there's a little cafe in there too. And then, of course, there are the beaches. Let me tell you a little bit about the beaches. Okay, so there's some that you can just walk down to. Most of them have a hotel or resort or restaurant or something attached to them. And you can do something like buy a water and keep walking and try and get out of having to pay. Or you can just sit down, relax, and resign yourself to buying something. Okay? We went to Anamabu Beach. That's another thing you can do. When I said there was something else in Anamabu, sorry, I didn't mention it earlier. But there's a beach resort there. And you can go to the beach resort, you can order a plate of fries and a couple of drinks, and you're set. And you can have all afternoon in this gorgeous spot. And you can do that, do your Posabon hunt, and then go to the beach resort. So there's no official admission fee, except you kind of got to buy something, or they will charge an admission fee. Another spot you can go to is Fosu Lagoon, and you can take a nice little boat ride around the lagoon, and that's kind of fun. If you're there, do it. It's fun. And you can just relax there. Again, they have a couple of restaurant-y kind of places, and you can sit and have a bite to eat. One of the other things that happens there is they have this big festival in usually September. It's Ogwa Fetu Afashe, I believe is the right way to say it. But it's a big festival. It lasts 4 or 5 days. But one of the things they do is boat races at the lagoon. And I went in 2019, and that was really fun. That was fun. And they competed. Remember I mentioned the Asafo companies? They competed by Asafo company. So each company had its own costume or uniform. And you can see the different people in the crowd were rooting for different groups, that sort of thing. So a lot of events happen at that lagoon. One of the other places people like to go when they're in Cape Coast is a place called Hans Cottage Motel. And it is a hotel. You might end up staying there. But it also has lunch, and they have like a lagoon, and they have a spot with crocodiles. And supposedly the crocodiles will come up on the land. I think they'll let you touch them. I've done a couple of places where I've been able to interact and touch crocodiles. When I went this time, it was the wrong time of year. It was the wrong part of mating season, so they weren't coming up on the thing. If you want to catch it on your way back from Kakum National Park, that's kind of the perfect time to do it. If you want to stop there and have lunch, it's a nice little place to have lunch. So that's something else you can do while you're in Cape Coast. As you can see, there is a whole bunch of fun stuff to do in Cape Coast. So when you're traveling here, I highly recommend that if you can give Cape Coast a few days, you're not going to be disappointed. There is plenty to do, and I highly recommend the Postabon Quest because it's all sorts of fun. And as I say, there's a lot to do here. And one of the things you need to do is you need to go to Cape Coast Castle and Elmina Castle, also known as St. George's Castle, and learn about the slave trade. Okay, you need to understand this. Cape Coast Castle was run by the British, and I'm not going to give you the big history. This isn't a documentary, but tens of thousands, if not hundreds, just hundreds of thousands, I'm sure, of people were processed through there and sent to North, Central, and South America as slaves. Thousands and thousands of people died there. Thousands and thousands of people died on the way. And when you go down in these dungeons, you know, you're down in this small area, and you're told that up to 1,000 people could be kept there. 1,000 people in that space. That'd be half my high school kept in that space. And I don't even know how they distributed food. And then you have, of course, had all of the human waste. And the thing is, the tour is not, it's interesting because the tour is not highly biased. It doesn't sit there and say, oh, these people were evil and they did this and they did that. And it's not an aggressive, make you feel bad tour. They tell you the facts. They tell you the truth about what happened. And as I say, they tell you the truth. And it's your own self that fills in the story. There is no way after you go to these castles. I'll tell you about Elmina in just a moment. But there's no way after going to these castles that you can ever think there was anything good about slavery. There were no benefits. There was no, hey, it wasn't so bad. It just, I mean, they were treated like cattle.
They were using for the exchange. Once they are done exchanging the captives, all of them are brought down to this forecourt for branding. All because in the castle, different merchants were in here for the trade. So one company or one group can take ownership of all of them. So they will set fire, place in metals that had their embossed designs underneath them. And when a metal is seen red hot, moving from the fire into an oil, as a meal directly onto your chest, your shoulder, or your back.
You know, and it's horrible. It's disgusting. Anyone involved in it is morally corrupt, and there is no excuse.
English had the church, the name Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. Today we call it Anglican Church of England. So they worship up there, whilst others as well stayed right beneath them.
You know, I don't care if they had a dang chapel or a church sitting right on the premises. Those people were morally corrupt and evil as well. It's as simple as that. When I first went in, I've done the Cape Coast tour 3 times now. And when I first went in 2003, it was an eye-opener. Now, I did not have a super whitewashed history when I went to school. You know, we were told that slavery was bad. We were told that of all the horrible stuff that happened. It didn't have the gravity that going to Cape Coast has. I mean, you're a kid, you know, it's done at an age level, but we weren't told it was anything but awful. And there was the miniseries Roots. I mean, you know, I wasn't blind to it, but the first time you go, it will have an impact on you. Then, you know, I thought, okay, I've had that impact. And then I went back with Tim in 2019. And for those of you who don't know, Tim was my husband. He passed away in 2022, but he was Black American. And at one point during the tour, it just struck me that if his ancestors hadn't gone through that and survived that, he wouldn't be there. He wouldn't be there with me. And I'm telling you my perspective. I know everyone is going to have a different perspective. And I know people of the diaspora, you have an entirely different response and perspective. And I fully respect that. And I'm just telling you my response because that's all I can offer you. You know, that's all I can offer you with true honesty. And I just had that revelation that if his ancestors hadn't been strong enough to survive that and years and years and years of being enslaved, he wouldn't have been there. And that just put another layer on the story for me. And as I say, there is nothing good you can say about slavery, period. So let me tell you, the castle at Cape Coast, the British one, is kind of big. And the thing is, if it had been just a trading post, it would be beautiful. It's actually, you know, the way it sits on the thing, and then the cannons are kind of cool, poking out over the ocean and all that. It could be a beautiful place if it had only ever just been a trading post. You know, you'd say, oh, this is a leftover piece of architecture. I know, colonialism sucks too. But you could say at least, you know, it was visually attractive, but it is so ugly because of its history, you can't say that. But the one over in Elmina is Dutch. It was Dutch owned. And it was smaller, and it has always felt darker and a little more sinister to me. I'm not saying it was more sinister. I mean, they were both awful. They were both horrible. But I think the thing that made it feel more sinister is they will take you through, and they will take you, and this is the last place. You might have heard of the term, the door of no return, and I'm going to go back to Cape Coast to discuss that as well. But in Elmina, the door of no return, you have to go through, and it's a really dark cell that you go through. And then you have to duck down to get through to the next room where you can kind of stand up again. You can stand up again, but they knew that the people that had been there, because the ships to come take them would come about every 3 months. So, you know, they were expecting prisoners to be having been in captivity for 3 months, or, you know, approximately 3 months. They knew that they were going to be so thin and so emaciated by the end of that captivity. The space that they had to squeeze through to get to the boats that would take them away from their home forever was only like this wide and about this tall. I mean, that was just, it's like, really, you knew you were going to destroy these people to the point where they could fit through that. And that one always really bothered me about the one in Elmina. That made it more sinister. And there's also a cell in Elmina. I'm not saying they didn't have this kind of cell in Cape Coast, but there's one they point out where the bad slaves went, and they were basically thrown in there and left to die. You went in, you did not come out. That sort of thing. There was a cell for slight misbehaviors, and then there was a cell that, hey, you ain't coming out again. And so Elmina always felt darker to me.
Once you walk out of the door, there's no way you're coming back. You lose your right as a human being, you lose your connection with your people, and as well, you get to lose your identity as an African.
The gate of no return. Now, this is actually a good part of the story, sort of. That door of no return might have been the same at Cape Coast, but now it's a big door. And it's a big door partly because they're on a mission, and I think they've done about 5 or 6 of these, to make it now from the other side. Okay, if you go out the door of no return now, you get on this little spit of land, and I mean, I've seen them playing football out there. Okay, and on the other side, when you come back in, it says door of return. Okay, and that is a welcoming back for anyone in the diaspora to come back to Africa, to come back home, and it's a welcome home. And I love that they've reclaimed the They've reclaimed the narrative, and they're making it their own, and they they're changing the story. They're changing the story to look towards a better future. And I think that is awesome. So it's important. I don't care what background you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how rich or poor you are. It's important to go there and understand. And this is why I left the castles for last, because I knew it was going to be a heavy topic. And the thing is, Cape Coast has a whole lot going on. And that's the thing, it's rich. And just go to Cape Coast, enjoy it, experience it, and let it enrich you, because that's what Cape Coast does. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.